those joining us this evening or from the video recording. Item 3 on our agenda this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a silent prayer in lieu of invocation. I invite you to please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Item number 4 on our agenda this evening is the explanation of the visitor's speaking procedure. Individuals wishing to address the body may do so only on items appearing before us on our agenda this evening. I will note that there is no public hearing, as the joint public hearing was held at the Planning Commission yesterday afternoon. Item number 5 is a reading of the minutes of the previous meeting held on January 28th, attachment number 1. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that item?
I'll move to approve.
A motion to approve by Zerflu. Is there a second? Second by Koth. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? See no requests to speak. Motions to approve. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Item number 6 is my report. Good evening, council members, staff, and those here watching from home. The Youth Council has concluded their elementary school snowman contest and is currently underway. Voting is currently underway for the winning school. The event is to promote awareness at the center just beyond summer swim, including the wintertime activities like winter skating and hockey. A community contest began last Friday with entries from households and community members available or to be entered through February 29th. So watch the city's community, the city's social media for information about the community snowman contest. The Youth Council recently toured the city garage to learn about public works operations and will meet at the pool construction site in March for their meeting. A note on the census: we're just under 1 month until residents can self-respond to the 2020 census. Put a plug that job opportunities still remain for census takers with a very attractive pay and casual work schedule. Encourage folks to go to 2020census.gov to get up to speed as to employment opportunities with that. As the city continues to contend with issues stemming from blocked crossings, the city staff and I continue to keep the lines of communication open as it relates to persistent extended block crossings. In fact, just this morning, city staff and I met with members of the Canadian National Railway to continue to talk through various issues as we see them and ways that they might be able to improve situations operationally. While we look forward to a long-term solution, we continue to have updated requests from their staff to inform them around operational concerns. And council members, for your benefit, I sent an email this afternoon with some of the items from that meeting. On the DNR Catastrophic Storm Damage Tree Grant, or Urban Forestry Grant, last fall the city was made aware that it was a recipient of $9,000 or just under $9,000 in funds to support the city's replanting of the urban forestry in the city that was affected as a result of the July storm. We were made aware just recently that we've been awarded the full $50,000, which will help support park and street tree replacements across the city and when spring finally comes. As it relates to FEMA, which was, as folks remember, we were eligible given the amount of impact from that storm. We're currently wrapping up submittals at a staff level, and it appears that $500,000 is eligible to be reimbursed for the city, and that is the number less any FEMA reimbursement. And FEMA reimburses up to 75% of the total eligible cost. I'm not exactly certain what the utilities update is on that, but we'll share that information as it becomes available. In the category of proclamations, issued a proclamation on 211 Day on 2/11 of this month to acknowledge the resources that dialing 211 in our community can present. So anyone that's looking for community resources or access to information, simply dial 211 to get connected with an operator to help folks get access to the information that they need. Ribbon cuttings this month. We held one today with the Chamber of Commerce at a small business on West Grand Avenue, and that's mattresses by appointment. And that concludes my report. Tune into my radio show tomorrow morning where I'll be taking calls from the community as I have every month. That's at 10 a.m. On WFHR or on their live stream on their website. Item 7 is consideration of an appointment of Rene Fisher, 341 18th Street North, to the Ethics Board to replace Brian Fisher as a citizen member for a term expiring November 1st, 2021. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that appointment?
I'll make a motion to approve that appointment.
A motion by Zerflu. Is there a second by Blazer? Are there any requests to speak? Seeing none, moving to a vote, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 8 is the first of initial resolutions authorizing general obligation bonds in the amount not to exceed $2,440,000 for swimming pool projects, attachment number 2. Phil Costin, a familiar face to us, is here again this evening to talk about these bond anticipation notes as well as the other borrowing or GO bonds that are before us this evening. Phil? Make sure your microphone can be on too. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Phil Costin with Ellers. Nice to be back in the city. And I will be taking some of your time here tonight with items 8 through 12, all relate to the two different borrowings that we are looking at for 2020. Prior to the meeting, I handed out 2 documents. On the top, they say pre-sale report. And I'm going to talk through each one of those and kind of high level, give you a high level of this, and then I will be more than happy to answer any questions you have along the way. There's also a corresponding resolution for each of these borrowings that are identified then items 8 through 12 in your packet as well. So the pre-sale reports are really to provide a little bit of background, to give you kind of a timeline as well as to the process that we go through when we assist the city in conducting the capital financing. So what we're looking to finance, as I think you're probably aware, I know at Finance Committee there was discussion about this already, are your 2020 capital projects, and there's a listing I'll go through in a little bit with you, along with a second debt issue, which is what's called a bond anticipation note, and I'll talk about that in a little more detail. So if you go into the first packet on the front page, it says $3,640,000 general obligation corporate purpose bonds. That relates to items 8, 9, 10, and 11. All 4 of those agenda items relate to this one bond issue, and the reason that we're broken up into those 4 different resolutions is because we're issuing bonds and not notes. In the past, many years past, the city has issued what are called general obligation notes, which have a shorter term, 10 years or less. Once we get beyond 10 years, it's called a bond issue. And when you issue bonds, you're required to actually identify by purpose what is being issued. And that's why you can see we have a further breakdown. So if you go into this first document, and I'm going to have you turn to page 5 of that document, this is a list of the projects to be financed in this 2020 A issue. And you can see it's $1,170,000 that's being identified for street projects throughout the city. And then the second is the Whitterfield Aquatic Facility, and this is the remaining amount to be borrowed for that project. There was a debt issue last year. They got you started with that project, and this is to finance the majority of the rest of the project. So the combination of those 2 are what's being borrowed with this debt issue. If you go to page number 7, we are issuing bonds, but only for the portion that is the Whitterfield Aquatic Center. So we expect that asset to be out there for a long time, 20 years plus, and we're looking to borrow the money over the 20-year period for that portion of the debt issue. As it relates to the street projects, that is going to be a 10-year note like you have done in the past. So we've broken this up. It's one debt issue brought in together as this $3,640,000 issue, but two different amortizations, one for roads and one for the Aquatic Center project. And we do that just as we look through and analyze your existing obligations of the city, future obligations, and bringing in these into the fold to determine, kind of affordability. We're also looking at what the tax impact is of undertaking capital borrowings. And that analysis is on page number 6. And I wasn't going to spend a lot of time going through that, but have you know, we spent a lot of time back and forth with city staff to put together these different financing scenarios to make sure that they make sense from a tax impact analysis. And so the first issue, again, is the road projects and Whitterfield Aquatic Center that'll be financed as part of this issue. The timeline is laid out on page 4 of this packet. As always, if it's we'll have it authorized by the council tonight. So that's what you're taking action to allow us to proceed with this financing. We will be then, if it's approved tonight, approving and preparing what's called an official statement. It's like a prospectus on the city that is ultimately what is used to send out to different prospective buyers of the bonds. And then on March 17th, which is your next scheduled meeting, we will be back in front of you with a bid tabulation, the winning bid, the winning rates on it, who all bid, and provide all that information to you and then a final resolution will be acted upon that night. And I promise to wear something green that night since it is St. Patty's Day. In between there's a lot of work to be done. We got to prepare the official statement. We rely a great deal on city staff to help us through that process. There'll be a rating call with Moody's Investor Service. That'll be sometime around the first week of March as well. So there's a number of steps along the way that will be required. But tonight gives us the authorization to proceed with this financing. So that's the first issue. That's the 2028 issue, the $3,640,000 general obligation corporate purpose bond. Items 8, as I referenced in your agenda packet, 8 authorizes the amount for the Aquatic Center. Item 9 is the road projects. Item 10 essentially is a notice to the electors indicating that you're going to go out and issue bonds, and that's a requirement in the state of Wisconsin. And then 11 brings the two items back together and authorizes us to proceed with the full amount, the $3,640,000. That's why we have the 4 separate resolutions that tie to this A issue. Mayor, if it's okay, I'll talk about the item 12 as well. Okay. Item 12 is a separate issue, and there's a separate packet. I'll describe what this is, kind of big picture. The timeline is exactly the same as I talked about earlier. Tonight's authorization, if it's approved, we'll be back on March 17th with separate bids on this issue. This is a 2-year temporary financing. Think of it as like construction loan financing that is being put in place for the remaining amount of the Whitterfield Aquatic Center. And the idea behind this is that we are looking to finance on a short-term basis the rest of the project and try to tie that to a schedule of donations being received by the city. It could be donations from any party, from foundations, wherever. As the donations come in over the next 2 years for this project, we will use that money to reduce or pay off these bonds, this second issue, the B issue. And so if you get $2 million in donations, the full amount will be paid off, and there'll be no residual amount to be refinanced. If you get, just for instance, $1.5 million in donations, what you'll need to do at the end of the 2-year period is we'll have to roll that remaining amount into a longer-term debt financing. And so this gives you kind of the maximum flexibility to continue, finish the project, see the donations come in, and apply those donations in an efficient manner to kind of pay off debt quickly on the project. So the B issue is, again, just kind of think of it as really a temporary kind of construction fund type financing with the intent to be able to pay off all or some of this with donations as they come in. And if there isn't enough to pay it off again, there is a plan for how to take out that debt at a later date. So we have a 2-year window to be able to pay that with this issue. So that is item 12 in your packet. It's a separate resolution for just this B issue.
Great. Thanks, Phil. Are there any questions on either issue before Phil takes his seat? Any questions for Phil? So no request to speak at this time, Phil, so if you just want to hang out for any potential questions, we'll be taking them individually as you indicated in your remarks. Tim, do you have anything that you'd like to state at this time, or any questions folks have for Tim? Okay, we'll move to the first item in that list, and that's the item 8. All the persons, what are your wishes regarding that resolution?
Make a motion to approve item number 8.
Motion to approve by Koth, is there a second? Second by Katna. Are there any requests to speak? Seeing Alderperson Blazer, you're first.
I struggle with the borrowing. I have, and I always have, and I think last May that we were here discussing what we were going to do about the future of the borrowing, and I'm not in favor of borrowing anymore, and I know we're stuck in a position where we have to do something. And I was hoping that we would be in a different position at this point with donations, but we aren't. I'm not in favor of borrowing any more money for this project.
Thank you. Alderperson Virginski, you're next.
Are we under contract?
Can you make sure your microphone is your microphone?
Yeah. Are we under contract at this point to pay for all the money that we're going to bond for?
You're asking what portion of what we're borrowing for is currently under contract. It's my understanding that everything that is under the Aquatic Center project would be under contract approved by the City Council. However, the Public Works construction, the only expectation would be the overhead of the manpower that we basically pay ourselves for to construct the roads that are planned for in the borrowing issuance.
In other words, the Aquatic Center, we're under contract at the present time, and this is the money that we're short. We have to bond for this to pay off the contract.
I would say we're also under contract for the people we employ in the street department to build the roads that we're planning to build with the $1 million or $1.3 or $1.2 million, correct? Other requests to speak? See no further requests to speak. The motion is to approve. Item number 8, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 6 ayes, 2 nays.
Thank you. Item number 9 on our agenda is a consideration of an initial resolution authorizing general obligation bonds in the net amount not to exceed $1.2 million for street improvement projects.
Make a motion to approve item number 9.
A motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Blazer. Are there requests to speak? Phil or Tim, anything on this particular item? No? You
The only thing I would add, and I mentioned in passing, is that the city's practice has been to borrow for road projects over a 10-year period, which is a very aggressive payback, and that is continuing with this issue.
Thank you. Any requests to speak? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Item number 9, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 6 ayes, 2 nays.
Thank you. Item number 10 is consideration of a resolution directing publication of a notice to electors relating to bond issues, attachment number 4 in your packets.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Koth. Is there a second? Second by Kellogg. Are there any requests to speak? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 6 ayes, 2 nays.
Thank you. Item 12 is consider resolution providing for the sale of approximately 2,035,000 taxable note anticipation notes, Series 2020B, attachment number 6 in your packets.
I think there's item 11.
Oh, did I say?
First.
Did I move on to, sorry. Item number 11, consideration of a resolution providing for the sale of not to exceed 3.640 million general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2020A, attachment number 5. Sorry, I crossed that off too soon.
Make a motion to approve.
A motion to approve by Koth. And a second by Kellogg. Are there any requests to speak? Alderperson Blazer, you're first.
I guess since these two are lumped together with swimming pool and street improvement, obviously I don't favor the swimming pool, but the street improvement project, as Bill had pointed out, this is how we fund our roads, and this needs to continue. So I guess in the importance of improving our infrastructure, I'm in favor of the resolution. However, I'm against the swimming pool portion.
Thank you. Are there any further requests to speak? See no further requests to speak. Motions to approve, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 6 ayes, 2 nays.
Thank you. Now, on to item 12 is consider a resolution providing for the sale of approximately 2,035,000 taxable note anticipation notes, Series 2020B. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding this item?
Make a motion to approve item number 12.
Motion to approve by Koth. Is there a second? Second by Kellogg. Are there any requests to speak? Seeing no requests, motions to approve, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 5 ayes, 3 nays.
Thank you. Item number 13 is...
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
See you next month.
Consideration for adoption the actions of the Planning Commission at its meeting held February 17th, 2020. And I need to actually, I don't have my thank you. Planning Commission met at 4 p.m. on February 17th, 2020 in the first floor conference room here at City Hall. Members present included myself as the chairperson, Tom Bry, Shane Burkhart, Daniel Hansen, Lee Tao, Sue Wesley, and Joseph Zerflu. Others in attendance are on file in the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 4 p.m. There was a motion and a second to approve the report from the November 18th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, and that motion carried unanimously. Item 2 is maps and plats received. Item A was Robert Holt, CSM. There was a motion and a second to approve the CSM conditional upon the map being revised to be consistent with the official map and the issuance of a revocable occupancy permit for any buildings lying within the street right-of-way, and that motion carried unanimously. Item B was a Kevin Peterson, CSM. The applicant was requesting a CSM for the split of one parcel in combination into adjacent parcels at 1010, 1030, and 1040 Airport Avenue. There was a motion and a second to approve, and that motion carried unanimously. There were no other maps or plats received. Item 3 was a public hearing with members of the Common Council on Plan 200033, Leslie Muse, Dwayne's Performance and Repair. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow an auto repair shop within the B2 General Commercial District. Subject property is located at 530 Dove Avenue. The public hearing was called to order at 4:05 p.m. Speaking for, and I don't think that's actually correct in the minutes, but that's okay. We can do a friendly on that. Speaking against, there was no one speaking against. Public hearing closed at 4:07 p.m. Item 4 was action on Plan 020033. Leslie Muse, Duane's Performance and Repair. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow an auto repair shop within the B2 General Commercial District. That subject property is located at 530 Dove Avenue. And there was a motion, a second, to approve conditional upon the following conditions. The conditional use is granted to allow the operation of a vehicle repair business. The number of vehicles stored outside shall not exceed 15 vehicles. No vehicle parts or inoperable vehicles shall be stored outside. Number 3 was no vehicles shall be repaired or serviced outside of the building. Number 4 was the hours of operation may be from 7:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m., Monday through Saturday. And number 5 was one accessible parking space shall be marked in front of the building. Number 6, dumpsters for refuse and recycling may not be located in the front or side yard of the property. And 7, compliance with all other applicable codes and ordinances, and that motion carried unanimously. Item 5 was Southwood County Airport Commission annexation and temporary zoning. The Airport Commission, or the applicant, is requesting a direct annexation by unanimous approval of the Alexander Field Airport Terminal and surrounding property to the city of Wisconsin Rapids. Subject property is located at 3620 First Street South in the town of Grand Rapids and is just under 4 acres in size. The applicant is also requesting that the annexed parcel become part of the I-1 institutional zoning district. There was a motion and a second to approve the direct annexation of the Alexander Airport Terminal and surrounding property to the city of Wisconsin Rapids and to zone it as I-1 institutional, and that motion carried unanimously. Item 6 was adjournment. There was a motion and a second to adjourn, and that meeting adjourned at 4:40 p.m. And I will point out that the annexation ordinances will appear later in the packet. In fact, it's, which item is it? Oh, part of the Planning Commission, I'm sorry, I thought you mentioned it was it's part of the Planning Commission packet, sorry. Alderperson Kubaschak, you're first.
Thank you. I request that we hold each of these items out separately and vote on them each 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So do you want to make a motion, since the floor is open to a motion?
Yeah, as far as holding them out separately?
Just to
Sure.
move through or whatever, except there's no motion on the floor, so if you wanted to make a motion to hold an item out and take it up separately.
Okay. Individually, I'd like to hold out item 2, item 3, item 4, and item 5. I think item 4 goes along with item 3, correct? But
Correct.
I make a motion that 2, 3, and 5 are individual items.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion, is that to approve item number 2 then of that packet? Okay. Motion by Kubaschak and second by Zerflu. Are there any requests to speak on item number 2 of the packet? Alderperson Rayom, you're first.
Just to make sure that, and Thad, you mentioned it, but just to make sure, item 4, I think you're including, right? Because it goes with 3. Is that not right?
He's asked.
Right, just to make sure 4 is also will be included on the record, because that's where the action took place, so.
Yeah, 4 is the action on 3. Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve item number 2. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Assuming we want to go in order, alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding items 3 and 4, which is the public hearing and the action on that public hearing?
I'll make a motion to approve 3 and 4.
Motion to approve by Zerflu, is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, did you have to break up the items? You're good? You're breaking them up, yeah. Yeah, 3 and 4 together. Yeah. Got a motion by Zerflu and a second by, and maybe just somebody could hit it on the remote again. Second by Koth. Moving to speaking order, Alderperson Kubaschak, you're first.
If Jaylene or Dwayne is in attendance, I yield time if necessary.
Jaylene, do you want to come to the podium and then make sure the button or the base of the microphone has got a green light on it, then it'll be lit.
It does.
Thank you.
So I've come to request a conditional use permit. My husband and I own Dwayne's Performance and Repair. It is a machine shop and hopefully a mechanic repair shop after today. We previously our business resided in a rental facility in the town of Buren. With some discrepancies out of my control, we had to move. So we moved to the old Rapids Floor Mart building, which is located at 530 Dove Avenue. I had previously spoken with Madeline and about zoning, and it sounded like we were okay. And then upon further discussion, we needed to get an additional zoning, conditional use permit. So I've requested and asked for your approval for a conditional use permit so that we can operate as a mechanic repair shop.
Great,
And I have
thank
any
you.
question- if anybody has any
Alderpersons, any questions for Jaylene? Great. I think we've covered any questions last night, and you're obviously familiar with the conditions as recommended and approved by the Plan Commission, I would assume.
Correct. I do have one question.
Okay.
Part of and I apologize, I didn't bring the paper, but part of it was that we're not allowed to operate outside of our building. Something such as like checking an oil stick or something, is that considered operating outside of the building and not in agreement with that? Just asking.
Sure, I think the condition speaks to no vehicle shall be repaired or serviced. So
Correct.
I would imagine that's a ancillary or accessory item and wouldn't require, or wouldn't be in conflict with the conditions.
Okay. I just wanted to.
I'm not the zoning administrator. Maybe we've got a zoning administrator that's sitting in the audience tonight, but that would be just my response to something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any further questions for Jaylene or anything for us? Okay, thanks for being here and thanks for addressing the body.
you for having me.
Alderperson Rayom, you're next in the speaking order.
Just the question, because, not objecting to, but just question, has there been any comments from the surrounding neighbors that live down there?
I know that there was-
Just a question, because
The legal notice
I
was.
knew where it was, and I drove by up and down the road a couple times myself, but I'm just wondering if
So
there's
I've-
been any comments, whatever, from the surrounding neighbors.
Sure. So I did meet with some residents yesterday that did attend the planning committee meeting, and they were happy to see that the building wasn't vacant, because the building has been vacant for 2 years. So they're happy to see that, that we're in there. And I did receive a letter from both a landlord and a tenant of a home that was in agreement for us to have our building there and our business.
Thanks for doing that outreach as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Alderperson Kubaschak, you're next.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to I don't want to speak for Jaylene, and I don't necessarily represent her, but she reached out to me and went through all the proper channels, and I had suggested knock on all the neighbors' doors and bring a pie and such as that, and it sounds like it turned out really well, and hopefully I can join my colleagues in saying welcome to Wisconsin Rapids. So with that, I make a motion for approval.
Got a motion second on the floor already, but are there any further requests to speak? Seeing none, motion is to approve. 3 and 4, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Congratulations, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding, I guess it's just the last item, item 5? Wait for the computer to get caught up. There we go. Alderperson Rayom, you're first.
Your Honor, this is for the annexation?
Correct.
Okay. If I may, allow a resident of Grand Rapids to speak on this subject, if I may do that?
wish to yield your
I
time?
recognize that, Mr. Clendenning.
Bill-
I thought he was here.
You wanted to address the body? Alderperson Rayom is yielding his time.
Thank you. I have a few questions, if they could be answered first. So this is not going to the state again? This is going to be an in-house?
So the petition was actually reviewed by the state, but because the petition has not changed since it was originally submitted last summer, they did not need to review the petition again, a second time.
So what I'm saying, a vote here tonight does do the annexation if it's yes. And it's a simple majority vote.
No, it's 2/3.
Okay, I asked Alderman if I could speak, and I didn't get the floor. I'm very passionate about this. I was an airport commissioner, and I took care of the airport in between. I have an airport manager and an FBO. And I noticed some things going on, and I've been in town government for 34 years. And I was not subject to annexations in the town of Oasis when I was in Waushara County. However, I got some things that I think should be looked at. For one thing, that the city of Wisconsin Rapids owns 394 acres in the town of Grand Rapids. And out of that 394 acres, 64 acres of it is used for water and light. So the town owns in the railroad, right-of-way and things like that, at 394 acres. That would come down to roughly 8 or 9 subdivisions of 40 acres or more. Those are taken off of the tax roll. And the town of Grand Rapids is not getting taxes for them because they're owned by the city. And another thing is, Mid-State Technical Institute is in the town of Grand Rapids. And it also has sewer and water given to it by the city of Wisconsin Rapids, and they pay for their sewer and water. And we go also to Ward 1 in the town of Grand Rapids. The Ward 1 is over by the water treatment plant. And there's some possible contamination of water or wells there that the residents could be. And the city of Wisconsin Rapids offers those people water, and they have to pay for it. And in paying for it, they also have to pay a hydrant fee if they have a hydrant near their home. The city of Wisconsin Rapids also has a intergovernmental agreement, I believe, with the village of Buren with water, wastewater, whatever it is, and also the village of Rudolph, and they have that. Then we moved over to the airport. And the airport terminal was built in 1973, and it was given water and sewer. And I was surprised when I was over there as working in the airport, and the garbage pickup, because I'm a recycling nut on recycling, and I noticed this hopper filling up with so many recyclables, and I could not believe it that the city of Wisconsin Rapids picked up that, and it was in the town of Grand Rapids, and we as airport, we paid no fees to the city of Wisconsin Rapids for picking up that garbage. And also, we paid no fees to the city of Wisconsin Rapids for our sewer and water. Now, I guess that this has come to light, now I guess they're going to be collecting from it. But in this annexation, is what come up is they're going to annex the terminal building and also this new. And they said it would cost so much money and to do things with that. If this was done in a timely manner, I could see it wouldn't cost as much. But now all of a sudden it's in a hurry. And when you had a chance to get this to go through again, you had to submit it to the state or something. I don't know what it was. But anyways, you did not do it. Is that telling me my time's up?
I guess so.
Okay. Okay, well, I get this. I just say, think of this. We pay at least $41,000 a year in our taxes for the airport. And there used to be the Village of Buren and the Village of Buren, and also, and there used to be Nakusa. And Nakusa got out of it. And when I was in there, I got Nakusa back to join it. And we went through some things. So I just hope that you would vote against this, and we have an intergovernmental agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderperson Blazer, you're next.
Hold on a second, Bill. Question for you. I'm trying to figure out, so, because I know you're passionate about this. So what's the issue with the annexation? Is it because Grand Rapids doesn't collect any taxes off of it, correct? Is it just the loss of the land, or I'm just trying to figure out what
No, we don't get any taxes off of that portion. Let's say that. But
is it personal property tax you'd lose, or?
it's buildings on leased land. And that's what we have, personal property tax.
Okay.
That's what we have for the old annex building, kind of, they're not the old annex, I got that on my head, the old terminal building, but that's tax-free. But other people that build hangars out there, they have to pay us. There is 2 municipalities that already have a septic systems. But they're not, one of them is not operating at this time, and that's for the terminal building. But what I see in this is, why cut off a line of progression practically? When you do that, you're almost cutting off, and would be cutting off our ability to ward one. It'd just take a few more acres, and you would have it. And you would be actually, island annexing. I just don't see why we can't just get along on this. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could with the intergovernmental agreement. Why we have to go to annexation? It's not gonna pay you people any money.
Okay, I was just curious of what the passion was for. Thank you.
Alderpersons, the floor is open. Or any further requests to speak? The request was if there's anyone else from the audience that wishes to speak. Generally or practically speaking, yes. Alderpersons, is there an?
I'll move to approve the item number 5 from the commission.
Alderperson Zerflu makes a motion to approve item 5. Is there a second? Second by Kellogg. Alderperson Kellogg, you wish to yield time or request?
Yes, I'll leave time.
Jeremy, you want to come to the podium, please, and introduce yourself?
Good evening, folks, and thank you. I know this will be a very oversimplified version of this, but ultimately all the commission is really looking for is provision of cities' water and sewer utilities to a new, what will eventually be a very beneficial and magnificent facility out there. That facility will put us on par with only the biggest airports in the state that have comparable facilities. And early in the discussions about the construction of this hangar, we were faced with the realization that the amount of water we were going to need for this building was going to be something that was most economically provided via the city's water and sewer utilities. So early in the discussions, annexation appeared to be the clearest and possibly cleanest route to go, because annexation, there is a procedure at the city for annexation, and annexations are recognizable to the city. So the first attempt at it, as you all know, came through in October, and the motion failed. In the meantime, the commission, in my opinion, sought other options, other ways that we could do this. And of course, unfortunately, as Bill said, a lot of time had elapsed, which may have eliminated some of the options that were available had those options been pursued 6 months prior to. But given the short time frame we had to give some idea to the builders that we were going to have these agreements in place so that we wouldn't further delay the project and incur any additional expenses, we had to move with the options that were, again, rather tight with timeframes and conservative with dollars that would have to be expended to pursue them. So eliminating some of the other options that were available, the commission is back a second time now, and for asking for the same request that was on the table in October, and I hope that demonstrates that the commission has considered options, and the commission does indeed believe that this is still the best option that they have for themselves now, given the tighter time frame as well. So I guess that's about all I had to say. And I understand that this is a passionate, there's a lot of emotion charged in this consideration, and I know this isn't an easy option for any of you. So if there's any questions you had for me, I'd gladly answer them.
Questions from anybody? See no questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, Alderperson Coth, did you have a question?
I do have a question on this annexation procedure and some of the things. So if this annexation fails tonight, what happens at the airport with getting the water? Does the city then say, because we're not going to annex this parcel in, that it doesn't get any water or sewer, or is it going to be up to Grand Rapids to put a well and septic in for them, or do we, if the annexation fails, do we look at intergovernmental agreement? What would be the next step if this annexation is voted down, and how would that affect the airport?
So it's my understanding that it's for the purposes of water, sewer, and fire protection. So it's both the fire suppression system and the city's fire protection service, the fire department, basically. So yes, none of those things, we don't provide those services outside our governmental boundaries unless there's a specified agreement that's been arranged. The commission has explored building and maintaining its own private septic system at the facility. It's to the tune of $225,000, if my memory served me correct in that. And that's still an option. It's not an option to build anything like that between now and when we hope that the substantial completion of the hangar would be completed by. There is a contract that the state has with the firm that's building the hangar, and that's really the controlling item from a schedule standpoint, not to mention being able to occupy it for the purposes of airport operations in 2020 and beyond. So I hope that answers your question. I think as it relates to intergovernmental agreement, the commission, in evaluating this, was presented options by its commission attorney. The commission attorney laid those out and then compared the time frame in which we were able to do this within, not to mention the commission's objectives, again, water, sewer, and fire protection. So the other issue why we are back with the same request is the commission discovered, or after the commission originally decided to pursue annexation in a revised setting and just to do the hangar, it created a landlocked parcel, and the city's ordinances do not allow for, our subdivision ordinance does not allow for landlocked parcels for obvious reasons. So that's why the commission voted again to pursue the same petition with an unchanged configuration in the parcel, and that was supported unanimously by the commission. Previously, it was not unanimous, and so because this is a unanimous request, then because of the unchanged request, it does not have to go through the state Department of Administration for review, and that was reviewed with them. Does that satisfy your question? Alderperson Blazer, you're next.
You already answered my question, whether or not the commission was unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Other requests to speak? Alderperson Rayom, you're first, or next, I should say.
Obviously, the simplest way to resolve this is with annexation. It's the simplest way to do it. And I know there is a motion and a second to go that route. At least with my understanding is we do have until, I think, April 1st to make the decision, so we would not have to tonight if we didn't want to, and then had more time to think about it, then, even though it is basically the same annexation proposal that we had, but it was also one that was turned down. And this meeting that this took place at was just last night. So I don't know how really much thought anybody has given to maybe discussion that took place since last night and now on this issue. It's one reason why I don't believe in having meetings the night before, the night of council meetings. Because I'd have to say all 8 of us didn't see the minutes until we walked in this evening. And other than 2 of us that were there at that meeting, and one is on the planning commission, there's 6 of us, and I was the other one that was there. 6 of us were not present. And until they read the minutes this evening, did not know and do not know what took place. So I find it hard, even though, as I said, the simplest way is annexation. I find it hard that whoever voted against before could this evening change their mind and vote the other way without hearing anything different. So that's basically, I think, all I have to say on that, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there further requests to speak? And I would just add, you asked about the intergovernmental agreement. I know that was referred to the Public Works Committee, and that was one of the options the commission attorney reviewed. The other option that has not been stated was a comprehensive boundary adjustment or an agreement, basically that the town and the city, not something that the commission can request, but initiated by either party, for example, the town, to initiate a boundary request, which is a comprehensive boundary adjustment. And the commission's attorney advised the commission that would at least be 90 days, not to mention any review by the state. And that's assuming we agree to whatever future boundaries the city is going to set for itself. So I just wanted to advise everyone of that detail from the commission's attorney, because you asked a question about alternatives, and I forgot to indicate that. Other questions? Alderperson Kubaschak?
Brief me, for whatever reason, do we need a second reading, or is this a straw poll? Is this kind of like an ordinance?
This is a special ordinance, so it does not require a second reading. It's not really an ordinance that goes into our code book. It's called a special ordinance, and it doesn't require a second reading.
Thank you.
But it does require a 2/3 majority vote.
Further requests to speak from anyone? Seeing no further requests to speak, the motion is to approve. As presented, please cast your ballots.
Motion failed, 5 ayes, 3 nays.
We'll move on to item number 14, was consideration for adoption the actions of the standing committees of the Common Council as follows. Item A is the Finance and Property Committee meeting held on February 4th. Alderperson Coth, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. Property and Finance Committee meeting met at 4:45 PM on Tuesday, February 4th in the first floor conference room. All committee members were present. List of others in attendance is on file with the clerk's office. Second, item number 2 was review and consider proposals for recreational center capital campaign strategy development. Mayor Bruink gave the committee an update on the proposals received for the capital campaign strategy development. No action was taken. Item number 3 was consider for approval of resolution establishing an investment policy and designating public depositories. It was moved by Blazer, seconded by Catnaw to approve resolution number 2, 2020, investment policy and designated depositories. See attachment 1. Motion carried. Item number 4 was review and consider proposals for replacing some of the common furniture and carpet at the Centralia Center. It It was moved by Blazer and seconded by Catnaw to approve the furniture replacement proposal from Hendrickson for $19,300.80 and the carpet proposal from Carpet City for $7,172.44. Motion carried. Item number 5 was consider a request to increase the construction service contract with MSA for the East Riverbank Phase 2 project by $12,500. Joe Terry gave the committee an update on the request and stated that the item will be brought back to the committee for consideration at a future meeting. No action was taken. Item number 6, consider partnering with the Wisconsin Department of Administration to share costs to study river flood mitigation options along 2nd Avenue South. Motion by Coth, seconded by Blazer, to approve a request to partner with the Wisconsin Department of Administration to share costs to study river flood mitigation options along 2nd Avenue South with a cost to the city of approximately $7,500. Motion carried. Item number 7 was review the 2020 general obligation bond issues and timeline. Tim DeSorsi updated the committee on the structure of the 2020 bond obligation bond issue. The amount of the bond anticipation notes were increased by $1 million, and the general obligation bond issue was replaced by the same amount. This restructuring will afford the city flexibility to account for the funds raised during the capital campaign in the final aquatic facility financing. No action was taken. Item number 8 was beverage operator licenses. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Blazer, to approve the beverage operator licenses and applications. In the applicant without standing obligations, the approval is contingent upon those obligations being paid in full. Motion carried. List of approved bar applications is attached. It's moved by Coth, seconded by Blazer, to approve the purchase of a 1 crew cab, 1-ton 2-wheel drive with a stainless dump box, and 1 regular cab, 1-ton 2-wheel drive with stainless dump box from Johnson's & Sons at a cost of $87,276. Motion carried. Item number 9 was consider for approval the appointment as Craig Kao as the successor agent for a Class A beer license and Class A intoxicating liquor license for Dollar Gen Group LLC, doing business as Dollar General Store 10309, located at 951 West Grand Avenue. It was moved by Blazer, seconded by Catnaw, to approve the appointment of Craig Kao as successor agent for Class A beer and Class A intoxicating liquor license for Dollar Gen Group LLC, doing business as Dollar General Store 10309, located at 951 West Grand Avenue. Motion carried. Item number 10, in open session, the committee will vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, para 1, para E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducted other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Item A, in closed session, the committee will discuss the negotiations and strategy regarding a lease agreement with the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters LLC and the Northwoods League Incorporated for use of Whittier Field. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Catnaw, to go into closed session. Motion carried by roll call vote. Item B, the committee will return to open session and may take action regarding the approval of a lease agreement with the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters LLC and the Northwoods League Incorporated for use of Whittier Field. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Blazer, to return to open session. Motion carried by roll call vote. No action was taken. Item 11 was consider a request from the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters LLC to make 2 improvements to Whittier Field this spring. Expansion of the Craft River area and expansion of the Home Plate Club to be done at the Rafters' expense. It was moved by Blazer, seconded by Catnaw, to approve the request from the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters LLC to make 2 improvements to Whittier Field this spring, expansion of the Craft River area, and expansion of the Home Plate Club to be done at Rafters' expense. Motion carried. Item number 12 was consider for approval a Class B beer and Class B intoxicating liquor license application for Joe Vin Baseball LLC, Joseph Fonte, agent, doing business as Wisconsin Rapids Rafters, for the premises located at 521 Lincoln Street, Wisconsin Rapids. It was moved by Blazer, seconded by Catnaw to approve a Class B beer and Class B intoxicated liquor license application for Joe Vin Baseball LLC, Joseph Fonte, agent, doing business as Wisconsin Rapids Rafters, and the premises located at 521 Lincoln Street, Wisconsin Rapids. Motion carried. Number 13 was audit the bills. It was moved by Catnaw, seconded by Coth to approve check number 2270 to 2656. Motion carried. Item number 12 was set the next meeting date. The next Property and Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for March 3rd at 4:45 p.m. Item number 13 was adjournment. It was moved by Blazer, seconded by Coth to adjourn. Motion carried. The meeting adjourned at 6:46 p.m. I did receive a request today to have item number 4 held out before I ask for approval. See if anyone else wants anything held out of this report.
Any items withheld from the report? Looks like we're good with item 4.
With the exception of item 4, then I would make a motion to approve the report as presented.
Motion to approve by Coth and a second by Blazer with the exception of item 4. Alderperson Blazer, you're first.
In number 8, is that a motion that was carried over from a previous minutes? The approval of the trucks after the bartenders? Or was that an item on our agenda? I don't remember.
Can you repeat that?
Item, he's questioning.
In item,
Read the report. Item 8 doesn't, it corresponds with vehicle purchasing.
right, and it has to do with beverage operators.
So we're wondering if the minutes carried that.
So that is that maybe a carryover from the previous minutes? It doesn't make sense with the item.
Yeah, right. Beverage operator.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So item 8 was beverage operator, not for the purchase of the vehicles, again, as the minutes reflected. So just to clarify. That was disposed of last month. We've got a motion and a second, with the exception of item 4. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. That leaves item 4, which is a review and consider proposals for replacing common area furniture and carpet at the Centralia Center.
Your Honor, I'd like to yield time to Joe Terry for that.
Thank you. At the committee meeting, we had discussed and recommended the proposal by Carpet City, primarily because that proposal was complete. It had all potential costs associated included. Since then, staff has approached me and asked for some reconsideration for the following reasons. The city has used Bowers Floor Mart for several other projects and has been very happy with the work. Bowers is physically located within the city of Wisconsin Rapids and is a city taxpayer, whereas Carpet City is not. And staff has suggested that they are confident any floor prep required on a time and materials basis as indicated on the proposal will be reasonable and any cost differential would be minimal. As a result, I'm asking for the council to consider approving the furniture replacement, but accepting Bauer Floor Mart's proposal for $6,825 as written.
Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that item?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from Hendrickson and substitute the Bowers Floor Mart bid in lieu of the Carpet City bid for the $6,800 as presented.
Motion by Coth and a second by Zerflu. Are there any requests to speak? Seeing no requests to speak, motions to approve, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 14B, Finance Property Committee meeting held on February 13th.
Thank you, Your Honor. Property and Finance Committee meeting met at, the Property and Finance Committee met at 4:45 PM on Thursday, February 13th in the first floor conference room of City Hall. Alderpersons Koth and Catnock were present. Alderperson Kellogg sat in for Alderperson Blazer. Others in attendance are on file with the clerk's office. Item number 2 was in open session. A motion was made by Koth, seconded by Kellogg to go into closed session under section 19.85, para 1, para E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. A roll call vote was taken. All members voted in the affirmative. Motion carried. Item A, in closed session, the committee discussed negotiations and strategy regarding a lease agreement with the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters LLC and the Northwood League for the use of Witter Field. Motion by Koth, seconded by Kellogg to return to open session. Motion carried, 3 ayes, 0 nays. Motion by Catnaugh, seconded by Kellogg to approve the lease agreement with the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters LLC and the Northwoods League Incorporated for use of Witter Field has presented. Motion carried, 3 ayes, 0 nays. Item number 3 was review and consider proposals for the Recreation Center Capital Campaign Strategy Development. This item will be considered at a committee meeting on Tuesday, February 18th. Item number 4 was consider an approval contract with Pyrotechnic Display Incorporated for the city's 4th of July 2020 fireworks. There was a motion by Catnaugh, seconded by Kellogg, to approve the contract with Pyrotechnic Display Incorporated for the city's July 4th, 2020 fireworks display. Motion carried, 3 ayes, 0 nays. In this report, there was an item number 5, which was consider applying for a police canine grant in the amount of $5,000 from Emma of the Stogs. To accept the grant if awarded, this grant was under the threshold limit and did not need committee approval. Just explaining why it's on the packet there for you guys. Motion by Kellogg, seconded by Catnaugh to adjourn. Motion carried, 3 ayes, 0 nays. Meeting adjourned at 5:37 PM. With that, I would move for adoption of the report.
Got a motion by Koth. Is there a second? Second by Zerflu. Are there any requests to speak? See no requests to speak. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Takes us to 14C, which is the Finance and Property meeting held February 18th this evening.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Property and Finance Committee met at 5:15 PM on Tuesday, February 18th in the first floor conference room of City Hall. All committee members were present. Lists of others in attendance are on file with the clerk's office. Item number 2 was consider for approval quotes to replace the chain link fence at Witter Field and to install wall padding on the interior of the outfield fence and to install a windscreen on the exterior of the fence. It was moved by Catnaugh, seconded by Koth to approve the request to replace the chain link fence of the outfield fence at Witter Field and to install padding on the interior of the outfield fence and to install a wide windscreen on the exterior of the fence at a cost of $69,866, with the rafters contributing $15,000 towards the project. Motion carried. Item number 3 was review and consider proposals for the Recreation Center Capital Campaign Strategy and Development. It was moved by Koth, seconded by Catnaugh to accept the proposal from Brooks Communication for the Capital Campaign Strategy Development at a cost not to exceed $6,000 plus travel expenses, with the expectation that monthly campaign status reports are given to the council. Motion carried. Item number 4 was adjournment. It was moved by Blazer, seconded by Catnaugh to adjourn. Motion carried. The meeting adjourned at 5:29 PM. And with that, I would move for adoption of the report.
Motion to approve by Koth and a second by Blazer. Are there any requests to speak? Alderperson Rayom, you're first.
I'm going to vote in favor again. With this, I just want to make a comment that I believe we have Mr. Fonte from the Rafters present this evening. If anybody would like to hear, if he has any words to say, but at least for me, I'd like to say welcome to Wisconsin Rapids to be part of the baseball team. So,
Any further requests to speak? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Item 14D, Public Works Committee meeting held on February 4th, 2020. Alderperson Kubaschak, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works Committee met at Tuesday, February 4th, 2020, in the first floor conference room at City Hall. Kubaschak, Rayom, and Virginski were present. Others attending are on file in the clerk's office. Item number 1, called to order. The meeting was called to order at 6:53 p.m. Item number 2, review and consider a referral by Alderperson Kellogg to add a yellow dash median stripe on Chestnut Street from Hill Street to Lincoln Street in front of Assumption High School. Motion by Kubaschak, second by Virginski, to place this item on the referral list and defer it until April after an engineering study can be completed by the engineering department. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 3, review and consider a proposal by Monarch Encouragement to landscape portions of the sloped green space along the south side of Riverview Expressway between Lincoln Street and First Street. Motion by Kubaschak, second by Rayom, to add this item to the referral list. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 4, review and consider approval of installation of a street light on Parkwood Drive. Motion by Virginski, second by Rayom, was carried to install a street light on Parkwood Drive as recommended by the city engineer. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 5, review and consider approval of reconstructing 11th Street between Washington Street and Apricot Street to its existing street width of 36 feet and right-of-way of 60 feet, rather than expanding the street width to 40 feet and the right-of-way of 66 feet as identified in the city's official map for minor collector. Motion by Rayom, second by Kubaschak, was carried to design 11th Street between Washington Street and Apricot Street as a 36-foot wide street in a 60-foot right-of-way. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 6, review and consider amending a preliminary resolution for permanent street surfacing, concrete curb and gutter, defective concrete sidewalk, concrete driveway approaches, and sanitary water and services for 2nd Avenue South from West Riverview Expressway to 10th Avenue South to include parcel 34-02944. Motion by Rayom, second by Kubaschak, to amend the preliminary resolution permanent street surfacing, concrete curb and gutter, defective concrete sidewalk, concrete driveway approaches, and sanitary and water services for 2nd Avenue South from West Riverview Expressway to 10th Avenue South to include parcel 34-02944. Motion carried 2-1 with Virginski voting in the negative. Item number 7, review and consider proposed modifications to Chapter 27 parking and Chapter 340 traffic of the municipal code as it relates to the 2019 reconstruction of East Grand Avenue. Motion by Kubaschak, second by Rayom, to modify Chapter 27 parking and Chapter 340 traffic of the municipal code as recommended by city engineer. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 8 was a Director of Public Works report. The report was reviewed. Item number 9, review of the referral list. The referral list was reviewed. Item number 10 was adjournment. Motion by Rayom, second by Virginski to adjourn. Motion carried 3-0. Meeting was adjourned at 8:38 p.m. And with that, I would like to hold up item number 6. Otherwise, I'll make a motion for the rest of the report if anyone doesn't have anything else to hold on.
Item 6. We got a motion to approve with the exception of item 6. Are there requests to speak? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Item 14, item 6 on Report D. Alderperson Kubaschak.
Yes, the reason why I held that out is Mr. Virginski asked me to potentially look at that. Do you have anything on item number 6 at all, Mr. Virginski? Okay. In that case, I'll make a motion to approve number 6.
A motion to approve by Kubaschak as presented, item number 6, and a second by Zerflu. Any requests to speak? Seeing nothing further, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
14E now, Public Works Committee meeting held on February 11th. Alderperson Kubaschak. Oh.
All right, the Public Works Committee, special meeting, Public Works Committee met at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 11th, 2020, in the first floor conference room at City Hall. Kubaschak and Virginski were present. Mr. Blazer sat in for Mr. Rayom. Others attending are on file in the clerk's office. Item number 1, call to order. The meeting was called to order at 5:04 p.m. Item number 2, review and consider approving the 2020 concrete work contract to the lowest responsible bidder. No bids were accepted until and publicly open on February 4th. Motion by Blazer, second by Virginski, to award the 2020 concrete work contract to Chippewa Concrete for $488,701.10. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 3, adjournment. Motion by Blazer, second by Virginski, to adjourn. Motion carried 3-0. The meeting adjourned at 5:07 p.m. And with that, I make a motion to approve this report.
Motion to approve by Kubaschak and a second by Rayom. Are there any requests to speak? Seeing no requests to speak, please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Item 14F, the HR Committee meeting held on February 11th. Alderperson Blazer.
Thank you, Mayor. The Human Resource Committee met at the City of Wisconsin Rapids at 5:15 p.m. on Tuesday, February 11th in the first floor conference room. All members were present. Also present are members listed on file in the clerk's office. First item taken up for business was review and approve proposed changes to longevity and personal time, policy and procedures as a result of ASME Local 1075 DPW not recertifying. This item was held over for more information. Item 3, discuss and approve general wage increase for former DPW ASME members. Motion by Zerflu, seconded by Kellogg, to approve a general wage increase for former DPW ASME members of 3% for those employees currently employed, retroactive to January 1st, 2020. Motion carried, 3 ayes and 0 nays. 4 is consider recruitment services for hiring of a human resource director. Motion by Blazer, second by Zerflu, to seek proposals for recruitment services for the filling of the human resource director position. That motion carried 3 ayes, 0 nays. Item 5, update on employment recruitment. The mayor gave that update. Item 6 is consider for approval a request to forego hiring seasonal engineer technicians and consulting engineers and hire an additional full-time design engineer, review job description and compensation for a design engineer. There was a motion by Kellogg, seconded by Zerflu, to hire a design engineer 1 with the job description and compensation as has already been established, and to then only hire 1 seasonal engineer technician and not to contract with design engineer consultants. That motion carried 3 ayes, 0 nays. Item 7 is a motion by Zerflu, seconded by Kellogg, to go into closed session pursuant Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C of the Wisconsin State Statutes, which reads, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Roll call vote taken and all members voted in the affirmative. That motion carried. In closed session, the committee discussed merit recognition award as recommended by the mayor, but took no action. Motion by Kellogg, seconded by Zerflu, to return to open session. Motion carried, 3 ayes, 0 nays. The committee took no action on a merit recognition award for an employee. Motion by Kellogg, second by Zerflu, to adjourn. Motion carried, 3 ayes, 0 nays. Meeting adjourned at 6:10 PM. And with that, I make a motion to adopt the report.
Motion to approve by Blazer. Is there a second? Second by Kellogg. Any requests to speak? Alderperson Rayom, you're first.
I just have a question on
Add one.
items 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Just having looked over it a couple days ago, but that's the same local, isn't it? The same local union, and one is asking for more information. I guess I understand that. In the same token, and where I'm not against item number 3, but are we how it's the wording of what there was is for former DPW AFSCME workers. And are they still members?
No,
Or not the request? I know the request was not to, but then on item 2, it says they're not for more information. So I'm just,
Yep.
I'm not disagreeing with what action that was done, but just wondering
So item
where
2,
we're at.
Yeah, so item 2, we held a discussion on, and some of the former members were there. And so the issue's coming down to whether, because by not recertifying, they gain potentially as non-union employees 2 additional personal days. And some of the members were questioning on longevity pay. So we're looking for some more information and potential options to deal with that issue. But then item 3 was the pay raise for that group. Does that answer your question?
So it's,
Maybe Sue might have some more.
Right, they didn't recertify, so as of January 31, they are no longer in that local. So then the issue is, first off, then they wanted the non-union raise, which is what they were given in item 3, I believe, is the 3%. And the other thing, though, was kind of by default, since they no longer were in the union, then their longevity payments would go away, but then also they would gain 3 personal days. So instead of that automatically happening, I think the committee wanted, and the members or the workers or the employees that were there were basically stating that maybe they would rather keep their longevity, or so there's some issue of those specific benefits outside of the wages, and that's what we're getting more information on to determine what might happen with longevity and or the additional personal days.
So Mayor, if I may, by them not recertifying, and those who know me know that I'll go to my grave and it'll be on my tombstone that I was a union member, because I am. I'm retired. I'll brag about it. They gave me what I got. But what they did by doing that, they became at-will employees. They're at-will employees. That means that we can do whatever we want to them, or the staff can, basically. I hope they all realize what they gave up by doing that. They gave up every promotion rights that they had, everything they did by becoming at-will employees, because that's what they did by not recertifying, by decertifying. That's what they did. I hope they know that. I hope they know that. I really hope they know that, because I doubt that they really do.
Alderperson Zerflu, you're next.
Yeah, and Chairman Blazer already basically spoke on it, but the committee's intent is to readdress item number 2 and just come up with a fair solution for everybody. So I believe that'll be on next month's agenda, as long as the chairman puts on there.
Great. See no further requests to speak. Alderperson Rayom?
Yes, I will. just for one more time, hopefully they all know that as a group, they have nobody to come in and ask for a raise for. They can come in by themselves and ask for more money. Hopefully they all know that, because that's the situation they put themselves in. And if the city, I guess we're going along with it, that we agree with that. So if somebody wants to walk in and they want a 10% raise, it ought to come to the HR committee, and they act upon it. And if they think that person's worthy of that, they do it. That's how it's done. You do it on your own now.
Alderperson Kubaschak.
I can see where your passion comes in, Mr. Aom. I'm a card-carrying union member too. But as a union member, I don't turn my back on anybody, and I don't think that you are either. And I don't think that this council is going to turn its back on any employee regardless. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mr. Aom, but I think what you're suggesting is there's unintended consequences for certain decisions that are made. So, thank you.
Thank you. See no further requests to speak. Motion is to approve. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Takes to item 14G, the HR meeting held this evening.
Thank you, Mayor.
Blazer.
Human Resource Committee of the City of Wisconsin Rapids met at 4:30 PM on Tuesday, February 18th. In the first floor conference room, all members were present, and a list of others are in attendance are on file in the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 4:35. Motion by Zerflu, seconded by Kellogg, to go into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C of the Wisconsin State Statutes, which reads, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Roll call vote was taken. All members voted in the affirmative. Motion carried. In closed session, the committee considered an appointment by the mayor to the Community Development Director position. Motion by Kellogg, second by Zerflu, to return to open session. That motion carried, 3 ayes and 0 nays. There's a motion by Kellogg, seconded by Zerflu, to confirm the mayor's appointment of Kyle Kearns as the Community Development Director, with compensation and benefits as presented. That motion carried, 3 ayes and 0 nays. Item 3, motion by Zerflu, seconded by Kellogg, to adjourn. Motion carried, 3 ayes, 0 nays. Meeting adjourned at 5:04 PM. And with that, I move for adoption of the report.
Motion by Blazer. Is there a second? Second by Zerflu. Alderpersons, Kyle is here this evening. Alderperson Zerflu, you've got a request to speak. I'll go through them. Go ahead. Kyle, did you?
I was going to officially recognize him if he wanted to say something. Sorry.
Kyle, do you want to come to the podium and introduce yourself to all of us and to the
Mayor,
members?
Alders, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I greatly look forward to this opportunity. I'm very excited to continue the vibrancy and vitality within the city of Wisconsin Rapids. I'm excited to start, and again, very grateful to have this opportunity, so thank you.
Alderpersons, you received Kyle's resume late last week on Friday, I believe, and he's available for questions if you'd like to ask any questions. Otherwise, I'm sure he'd hang around after the meeting to have a conversation with all of you as well. Any requests to speak, Alderpersons? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kyle. We've got a motion and a second on the floor. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Congratulations, Kyle. We look forward to working with you. And I know in your interview, you had a desire to get to know the alders and hear their passions for the city. And obviously, that department works very close with the districts in which these folks represent. So appreciate your willingness to make an effort to get to know them. And as well as providing your leadership now to the Community Development Department, I think you'll be a great addition to the team of city staff here at the city. So thank you for being here. Item 14H, the Legislative Committee meeting held on February 11th, and that's chaired by Alderperson Blazer. Yeah, I can't remember who the...
Thank you, Your Honor. The Legislative Committee met at 6:15 PM on Tuesday, February 11th in the first floor conference room. All members were present. Also, a list of others in attendance are in the file in the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 6:16 PM. The first item was review and consider for adoption an amendment to the well abatement ordinance, moving the program to Waterworks and Lighting Commission. Motion by Coast, second by Blazer, to approve the amendment to the well abatement ordinance as presented. That motion carried 2 ayes, 1 nay, with Alderperson Kubaschak voting in the negative. Item 3 was review and discuss policies relating to taping and broadcasting of the city meetings. Motion by Kubaschak, second by Coe, to approve the policy with the revised revisions as discussed. That motion carried 3 ayes and 0 nays, and the updated policy is attached to our packet. Consider referral from Alderperson Rene for study of all committees, commissions, and boards regarding their duties, number of members, whether members are residents of Wisconsin Rapids or not, and meeting dates and times. Motion by Kubaschak, second by Coe, to postpone this item for a future legislative meeting when Alderperson Rene can attend. That motion carried 3 ayes and 0 nays. Consider referrals from Alderpersons Coe relating to increasing fines for disorderly conduct with a motor vehicle, failure to stop at stop signs, and excessive modified muffler violations. Attorney Schill explained that traffic deposit fines are set by the state and cannot be changed. So the stop sign violations and muffler violations cannot be changed. The disorderly conduct with motor vehicle violations, however, is not a traffic violation, and that the state has, so it is up to the municipal judge with the approval of council to set that deposit fine schedule. It was moved by Kubaschak, second by Coe, to request the municipal judge consider looking at the deposit fines for the DCMV. Motion carried 3 ayes, 0 nays. Item 6 is consider amending the number of items needed to trigger a legislative committee meeting. Motion by Kubaschak, second by Blazer, to have a regular monthly meeting of the legislative committee unless there are no items to be considered. That motion carried 3 ayes and 0 nays. Item 7 is motion by Kubaschak, second by Coe, to adjourn. Motion carried 3 ayes, 0 nays. Meeting adjourned at 7:13 PM. And does anyone want to hold out anything? I'll make a motion that we approve the report.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the report as presented with a second by Kubaschak. Are there any requests to speak? Seeing none, motion is to approve. Please cast your ballots.
Motion carried, 8 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 15 is reports of other committees, commissions, and boards, departmental reports. Item A is the Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department 2019 Annual Report. Item B, the Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department Monthly Summary for January. Item C, the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department Monthly Summary for January. Item D, the Waterworks and Lighting Commission held January 8th. Item E, the Police and Fire Commission held January 8th and February 12th. Item F, the McMillan Memorial Library held January 15th. Item G, the Southwood County Airport Commission held January 16th and January 31st. Item H, the Ethics Board held February 4th. Item I, the Wastewater Treatment Commission held